Hello and welcome everyone to this TM Forum webinar series event, Managing Network Performance and Customer Experience During a Mobile Network Swap, a Telenor Norway case study. My name is Eduardo Cabrera, the webcast production manager at TM Forum, and I will be moderating today's webcast. I would first like to start by thanking MyCom for sponsoring today's event and Telenor for their participation. Now, if you would please direct your attention to your console. If you would like a larger view of the slides, please click the green button located at the top of your slide area window. Also, please notice the Q&A window on the left of your screen. Feel free to enter questions at any time during the presentation. Our speakers will respond to as many questions as time allows following the formal presentation. Also, if you could please turn off your pop-up blockers at this time, we'll be sending you a brief survey that we'd love to have your input on later in the presentation. Our first presenter today will be Torgeir Limo. Torgeir joined Telenor in 1999 and has several years of experience as a radio engineer focusing on planning and optimization. As a senior technical advisor, he is responsible for design and development of performance management solutions and the introduction of new services and technologies in the mobile access network. Presenting with Torgeir is Sverre Berg. Sverre Andres Berg has been working with performance management systems in Telenor for more than 14 years. During this period, he has participated in all mobile network swaps that Telenor Norway have conducted. In addition, Sverre has experience in mobile network planning, optimization, and feature introduction. And also presenting today will be Paul Ganime. Paul Ganime has over 16 years of international experience in the telecom, IT, and software industries. Prior to joining MyCom, Paul worked at Nortel, where he occupied different positions in wireless telecommunications industries. He worked with mobile operators worldwide in APAC and EMEA for designing and implementing advanced capacity solutions. Paul has been working at MyCom for the last 8 years as Product Management Director and delivering state-of-the-art convergent service assurance solutions for leading-edge telecom operators. And at this time, I'll turn the program over to our first speaker, Torgeir Limo. Torgeir?
Thank you, Eduardo. My name is Torgeir Limo, and I will take you through the first part of the Telenor presentation. I will give you some information on the Telenor Group and our Norwegian operation, and I will also explain how we have organized the different swap activities in Norway. The Telenor Group is the 6th largest mobile operator in the world. We have 128 million mobile subscriptions, and we have mobile operations in 11 markets. In addition, we are present in 20 markets through our 31% ownership in the VimpelCom company. If we add the Telenor share of the VimpelCom subscriptions, we add up to more than 300 million subscriptions. Telenor Group has a strong footprint in Central and Eastern Europe and also in Asia. We have a leading position in the Nordics in mobile, broadband, and TV services. The Telenor Group employs more than 31,000 people worldwide. In the upper right corner of this slide, you can see the revenue distribution for the Telenor Group between the different regions and divisions. Regarding population and subscribers, the Nordic region is quite small compared to the Asian operations. But still, a substantial part of the revenue comes from the Nordic region. In fact, 44%. In Norway, Telenor has a leading supplier role of the telecom and data services. We offer fixed line and mobile telephony, broadband, cable TV, internet services, and coastal radio service. We are the #1 broadband provider in Norway. We have more than 3 million mobile subscriptions, and Telenor in Norway has more than 5,500 employees, located in more than 30 locations all over Norway, including Spitsbergen at Svalbard. Telenor has more than 150 years of history and dates back to 1855. Then some more technical facts about the network in Norway. Telenor has 3 brands in the market in Norway: Telenor, dJuice and Talkmore. The mobile telephony market share is 50%. The mobile broadband large screen subscription market share is 55%. This summer, in June, we launched HSPA Plus, giving a theoretical maximum of 21 megabits per second. And this year, Telenor mobile broadband was rated best in test for the 4th year in a row. This year, we see that nearly 90% of the terminals sold are smartphones. The GSM coverage is 99.9% of the population and 87% of the country's geographical area. The corresponding figures for UMTS is 87% of the population and 22% of the country's geographical area. This is the baseline of the mobile network today, but the swap activities we are about to finalize now have their background in 2009. Back then, the 3 Nordic operations joined forces and made a common Telenor Nordic mobile broadband request for quotation. It was issued early 2009. Each of the 3 Nordic operations negotiated separately. Telenor Norway reached a decision in November 2009 and issued the press release you see on the right side. The main driver for the RFQ was to prepare the mobile network for LTE. Other drivers were the need to reduce the total cost of ownership, the hardware should be scalable with regards to network capacity, and it should be future-proof to support introduction of new services and technologies. It was also important for Telenor to reduce power consumption on sites. As you can see from the press release, we are not only swapping the radio network, but also the PS core network. I should add that Starent Network has been acquired by Cisco since this press release was sent out. In addition to the mobile network equipment, we are also replacing support systems like the mobile inventory and the performance management solution. All in all, we have 6 different projects running, which all are dependent on each other. This is why we have organized them in a program, acting as an umbrella for the purpose of coordinated management. The name BRAIN stands for Broadband Radio All IP Network. The BRAIN program is sometimes referred to as the BRAIN swap, and that actually gives a good picture of the complexity involved. We are really doing it all at the same time on a live network. The BRAIN program is leading the implementation of the following 6 projects. First, we have the RAN swap project, replacing the radio access network. This project is swapping the radio equipment from NSN and Ericsson to Huawei equipment. The PS Core project is replacing the core network for mobile data traffic. They are swapping from Ericsson to Cisco equipment. The mobile inventory project is replacing our in-house inventory system and is responsible for registration of all new elements in the network, tools for planning, operations, and error management. Backhaul delivery is responsible for the necessary transmission capacity to all Huawei sites. The OSS project is responsible for the operational support systems, including performance management solution, and is also responsible for integrating these in the existing value chains. Finally, we have the Domino project. This project is responsible for the legacy network equipment. They are trying to resell as much as possible of the equipment and scrapping the rest. Introducing new future-proof equipment has reduced the energy consumption. In fact, we see that we have an annual energy reduction equivalent to 800 family houses. The remaining part of this presentation will focus on 2 of these projects, the RAN swap and the OSS, and especially in the overlap between these two, the performance management of the RAN swap. The RAN swap project is an enormous logistics exercise. The planning process had to take into account climatic conditions in the wintertime with snow and ground frost in the northern parts of Norway. But it also had to address legacy BSEs with critical capacity challenges. On the other hand, there have also been more urban challenges concerning corporate customers only using mobile phones, giving us a very limited service window. In addition, some of the urban sites have complicated physical access, which might involve the use of lift trucks, or they have strict security rules, giving us a lot of paperwork. This is why we are swapping 24 hours a day to keep up the pace. The RAIN OSS project has three main goals: replacing the legacy element management systems, introducing a new performance management solution covering both radio and core domains, and finally preparing the PM solution for LTE and EPC. Then I will hand over to my colleague, Sverre Berg, who will take you through the details of the swap process.
Thank you, Torgeir. Yes, I'll take us through some of the main processes where performance management has been a major task in our mobile network swap. We will also look at some important experiences using performance management to follow up the network quality that are linked to our acceptance criteria. These are processes that has proven successful for Telenor Norway. Hopefully some of you find it useful and can take some of our experiences if or when you are doing a radio network swap. I'll start with the contract negotiation milestone. Already in the swap contract, network quality was an important issue. And as you should notice, that major payment milestones were linked to network quality. In the contract, we used KPIs on network level based on drive tests and OSS statistics. As an example of a drive test KPI, you can see that a certain percentage of the RSCT measurements should be above -90 dBm. And an example of an OSS KPI on network level is the 2G NPD requirement to be above 300 minutes. The next milestone coming up is what we call the pre-swap phase. It started with visiting all the sites. Network swap is mainly a logistic job, and in Telenor Norway case, 6,500 sites had to be visited once to find out if the new cabinet could be installed side by side with the old one, what type of fuses are available, and could the antenna jumper cable be reused. The main task with a site visit is to get the shortest possible downtime. All the documents that we got were then stored in what we call a swap support application. Then we reached the golden cluster phase. A golden cluster is a test area in the live network where we could verify that the new network were performing as good as the old one. We had to look into interoperability to see if the mobile services were behaving in the same way in the new network as it was in the old one, and that the handover borders are the same in both networks. These activities involve a lot of parameter tuning, but also feature comparison were a major task in the golden cluster trial. And we found out, for example, that high-speed circuit switch data for 2G were not offering the same services as we were used to. Before we could start comparing performance before and after the golden cluster swap, we had to align the major KPIs to be sure that we were measuring the same things in both networks. And we also needed to look at statistics in the neighboring areas to be sure that there were no degradation in the customer perceived quality. And the last stage in the preparation phase was the pilot swap. Has the right person got the right key to get into the site? Are all equipment in place? Has the swap center got all the processes up and running? Are the swap support systems running as they should? So this phase was mainly to prove that we were able to cope with the swap speed. Then we entered the volume swap phase. Now we have divided our country into clusters and area, where each cluster contains of 25 to 30 sites, and each area contains 2 to 6 clusters. Then follow the customer information and, of course, the actual swap execution. And we went into the network quality assurance and swap acceptance part, where we used the performance management. Immediately after a site had been swapped, the network quality was monitored by our swap center. And when we had control on each site, we could start looking at acceptance. These activities were divided into provisional acceptance and final acceptance, where the PAC, or provisional acceptance, actually was a functionality of the cluster, while the FAC, or the final acceptance, were to prove the stability of an area. And both were done comparing drive test KPIs and OSS KPIs before and after the swap. And it is worth to mention that both acceptance phases triggered major payments. The volume swap could be divided into different periods, starting with the swap preparation. This commenced 26 weeks before the actual swap, and the sites are put into a hardware freeze, meaning that it is not allowed to do any hardware changes or capacity adjustment after this date. The work conducted in this phase was the TSSR, the Telenor Site Survey Report, the scope of work, and the purchasing order. Then we come to the ready for swap part. This starts 14 days prior to swap, and the site is put into a software freeze state. All parameters have to be documented, and the neighboring relations are entered into the new cell. The week after were normally chosen as the benchmarking week, going to be used in the provisional acceptance. After conducting the actual site swap and documenting the new installation, we entered the acceptance period, which culminated with giving the area its final acceptance certificate. It is worth noticing that a site swap, in our case, takes at least 9 months from start to end, since we have a 90 days FAC, or stability period. To cope with the target of swapping 50 sites per day, and also having a new vendor for both PS Core and the radio network, a new PM system had to be in place. Our main requirement for such a system was that it had to be customer off the shelf. Telenor has a policy of buying support systems from someone who has this as a profession rather than develop them by ourselves. The system had to be a multi-system covering at least radio, the packet switch core, and the circuit switch core network. It had to have flexible reporting facilities covering at least tables, graphs, and GIS. It should also contain a KPI library. As you know, the KPIs are one of the main building blocks in a performance management system. And if we could get a KPI library delivered together with the system, it would give us a kickstart with our new vendors. We had also requirements to data collection, aggregation and storage, and as near real-time data loading as possible. It doesn't matter how fancy reports you have if you don't have the suitable data in your database. The system had to be future-proof, covering at least LTE, Evolved Packet Core, and femtocell. And of course, there is the total cost of ownership. We wanted a long-term solution covering our needs for the next 5 to 10 years, but within a reasonable cost. These requirements and quite a lot of others were incorporated into an RFQ, which was issued in April 2010, and a contract was signed with MyCom in July the same year. The NIMS Protima system were then installed and tested during the autumn of 2010, and we launched the system with a RAN interface on the 19th of January 2011. The RAN in service date was actually coinciding with a period where we were ramping up for the max swap speed. So we can call it just-in-time delivery. Have we got this system that we have required in the earlier or in the previous slides? Yes, we think so. This is the swap report that we are using, both for daily monitoring of the network quality, but also to be produced as a certificate for the swap quality. This is actually 3 different reports. As you can see from the upper left-hand corner, we have a 3G report, we have a 2G report, and we also have a combined 2G and 3G report. It is very important to have a combined report where we can see both 2G and 3G statistics in the same view to see if there are any shifting in traffic pattern between the different systems. If we look at this report, we have the legacy data entered in the middle section, what we call the reference section. On the right-hand side, we have the acceptance section, where we enter the data from the new vendor. Below those, there is a graphical presentation of all the data that we are collecting, and we can see the trend of how the swap is progressing. On the left-hand side, we have a list of all the cells that are in the cluster, and also the date the actual swap took place. So it is very easy to use this type of report. The only thing that the user has to think about is updating the reference report with the benchmarking week and the cluster ID. And when he or she then runs the report, all the other views will automatically be updated with the necessary data. And as we can see here, we are actually able to compare the legacy data and the data from the new network side by side. I will now share with you some of the success criteria using Protima in our swap process. Every night we are migrating legacy data from our old network and into NIMS Protima. In addition to the swap acceptance KPIs, we are also migrating the most used KPIs for troubleshooting and capacity monitoring. And by that, we were able to phase out the old PM system in an early stage. We saw that we were not able to launch the new system before the swap started. But by buffering the raw data files in the new OSS system, we were able to get 4 months of historical data when we introduced the RAN system. We are using multi-vendor KPI capabilities in the system that makes it possible to combine legacy data and new vendor data. That makes it easy to see changes in performance before and after swap. It is very easy to generate reports in NIMS Protima, and we had created all the necessary reports before launching the application. We have also integrated our system to other databases, like the inventory and our swap support application, then to be able to enrich the performance data with information like counties, municipalities, and radio planners. And if there are any changes in the cluster configuration, NIMS Protima will be updated immediately. We also think that it is important for both the vendor and the operator to use the same performance management system to avoid any argument about data quality or KPI results. And last but not least, all users have been through a tailor-made training program, giving them the system knowledge they need to do their daily work. Our goal before the swap was to see an improvement in capacity, speed, and stability. Have we achieved that? Well, if we look at drive test reports created from 231 clusters, we see that retainability is better since you have a decrease in the number of dropped calls for both PS and CS. The user experience is improved since we have an increase in the FTP throughput on both 2G and 3G. But as Torgeir mentioned before, introducing HSPA Plus this summer has helped the 3G throughput. And we have seen a better coverage since there are a reduction in no network measurements during drive tests. And also in the OSS statistics, we see the same results. Minutes per drop evolution has also improved when we compare the summer of 2010, the blue line, with the summer of 2011, the red one. The improvement in the network quality that we have seen in the previous slides could to some extent be linked to better hardware performance, but also to the fact that the network quality have had a high attention during the last year. And we think that the easy-to-use NIMS Protima system will help us keeping the focus on the network quality for the next years. Then to summarize, a good organized swap project has improved our mobile network quality to the benefit of our customers, and it has also given Telenor Norway a future-proof network. And by that, I would like to thank you for your attention and hand over to Maicon and Paul Ganimet.
Thank you, Sver and Torgeir. My name is Paul Ganimet. I would like to give you some insight into the service assurance and imperative in this fast evolving and dynamic telco. But before that, those of you who are not familiar with MyCom, I would like to give you a quick summary of our company. Basically, we are a global leading provider of next-generation OSS assurance solutions and innovative engineering services to the telecom industry. This covers networks and system transformation and optimization. We started operating in '97 and have been experiencing steady growth both in software and engineering services. MYCOM growth has been due to its exceptional vision and leadership in the development of 3G technology, and continued with the achievement of leadership position on areas such as fixed mobile conversion and LTE. What makes us kind of unique in the industry is our triple expertise in software excellence, system integration, and network engineering, which place us in an ideal position to deliver complete turnkey solutions to our customer. We have a global presence across EMEA, Americas, and APAC. Our regional headquarters are located in Atlanta for the Americas, where we have an extensive presence across the United States. London is our HQ for EMEA and Bangkok for APAC. We have 2 R&D centers, one in Taiwan and the other one in France. This global structure helps us in providing round-the-clock support to our customers. As you can see in this nice wallpaper, we have the pleasure to be serving a large number of leading service providers across the world who are relying on our solutions and services to manage the performance of their networks. Many of those service providers are Tier 1 with a very large and complex hybrid network to manage that employ very often the latest technology and at very high quality standards. Hence, the requirement in terms of scalability of our solution. Here is a typical example of a Tier 1 solution. It's managed fixed mobile conversions end-to-end, including integration with fault management, inventory management, collect PM data and CM data over 70,000 cells, provide the information, distribute the information for about 1,500 users, 150 concurrent ones, and collect, aggregate about 9 billion of inserted records per hour. We are proud at MYCOM that many of our customers are ranked #1 in quality of service by their local telecom authority. As an example, we can mention our customer Telefonica O2 UK, where our solution helped them achieving #1 position in customer satisfaction survey, and this was announced in the press release some time ago. Just coming back to what Sver and Torgeir presented to us, it is very clear that the service assurance has been a key enabler for success in the SWAP project. The role of service assurance becomes more critical when we introduce some constraints on the project, such as timing is tight, or, for example, when we have several millions of live subscribers that have developed their daily habits of using the network with their preferred services and application at home, office, or during their transport. Where, in other words, they have developed their own ranking of the quality of service on the area where they usually use the network. The close collaboration and strong integration program that Telenor is pushing with Huawei and Cisco, for example, is another very key, very important key factor for success. The key benefits brought by NIMS Protima that help our customer to be successful can be summarized following 4 cornerstones. The first one is, of course, about advanced reporting capability, providing a rich and appropriate set of features tailored to meet the telco needs in real-time performance monitoring and capacity alerting, root cause analysis, and providing benchmark facilities of SWAP vendors. The second one is being able to provide productized features allowing the automatic mapping of information between two vendors. In real time, assuring historical trending on the same network element over the two vendors. Another very important cornerstone is the powerful productized framework enabling a rapid migration of data, legacy data. As Bear mentioned about it, it is important to be able to deal with legacy data. As an example, in the case of Telenor, the importation of 2 years of RAN data and CS data has been loaded in 2 days. Of course, another very important aspect is the time to prepare the data, the migration, that it also has to be considered. Commercial off-the-shelf product, this we mentioned about it as well, accelerating the delivery and the readiness and shortening the time to market, allowing the service providers to take benefit of MyCom telco expertise. Beyond the swap use case, I would like now to give you an insight into some of the key challenges our industry is facing today and will be facing in the coming years, and how what MyCom proposes in order to address them. Today, mobile operators are facing tremendous mobile data traffic growth. The recent Cisco study forecasts about 6.3 exabytes of mobile data traffic by 2015. Putting this in perspective, an exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. This represents about 250 million of DVD. In 2015, it is forecasted that 1 month of mobile data traffic would represent more than 2 times the total traffic carried in 2010. This IP traffic growth is expected to be mainly driven by video traffic increase. If we add on the top of that the success story of smartphones, the proliferation of applications, and promising expansion of machine-to-machine markets with NFC application, mHealth, etc., there is no doubt that it is a lot of data for networks to support. From another hand, the data traffic ARPU is capped, which consequently make the data traffic offered at a lower price per bit. This means that service provider will have to carry much higher volume of traffic with flattening revenue. Customer experience becomes a focus. In addition to dealing with data traffic growth, service provider will have to face 3 other challenges. The first one, the market is saturated, and a fierce competition on pricing and offers is taking place between legacy operators and MVNOs, for example, pushing the service provider to innovate, introduce new platform, enablers such as IMS, deliver mobile fixed IP services, and develop all IP broadband. Another key challenge, the fact that there is a real threat on the revenue stream. Cannibalization, and this is mainly lead from the cannibalization from the over-the-top content providers. As the subscribers are today dictating what services they want to use anytime, anywhere. The last challenge we see, the fact that service providers are facing the threat of higher subscriber churn as the loyalty has shifted as the loyalty of subscribers has shifted and is moving more to the over the top content provider. Hence the need to focus on customer experience as highlighted in the survey graph. Deutsche Telekom has recently measured that the subscriber churn has been reduced by a factor of 10 to 20% when good quality converged experience is offered to users. Now, what does this mean for service provider? Mobile data traffic growth will dictate massive increase of the network capacity, both on the radio access as well on the backhaul side. Dealing with quality of service, deliver the best quality of service as key differentiators to avoid subscriber churn. In a recent interview, the CEO of our customer, SFR, who is the second largest service provider in France, announced that delivering best network quality was strategic for SFR business growth. Finally, given that the revenue will be flattened, minimizing the cost both on OPEX and CAPEX becomes an imperative to achieve profitability. Now, here I would like to share with you some of the key actions that we believe at MyCom have to be undertaken by the service provider to reach the goal discussed earlier. As far as capacity concerned, there are different ways to deal with it. For example, optimize existing layer as HSSPA to maximize carrier traffic per resource. MyCom offers advanced scenarios for maximizing the usage of HSPA resources where up to 40% savings can be achieved on radio resources. Offloading traffic can be offload up to 20% of traffic to Wi-Fi femtocell, deploy LTE and introduce new IP services, and be ready to deal with the traffic growth. Deploy high-capacity backhaul, all IP-based, to reduce cost per bit and ensure backhaul scalability. Increasing the capacity efficiently and cost-effectively means traffic load balancing between the different layers and orchestration of capacity activity in a just-in-time fashion. Hence, the importance to manage the capacity across multi-technology, multi-layered network. Maximize the resource utilization as well. Managing the quality of service from end to end, MyCom solution manage the fixed mobile network quality of service end to end. This means real-time monitoring for both quality of service and network performance, where cross-domain correlation is a key prerequisite for modeling of subscriber perceived quality of service. What does this mean? Cross-domain correlation is the ability to collect and correlate data from network domains such as femto, 3G, 4G, IP backhaul services, and across various vendors. Mapping of network and service layer, enabling service providers to focus their scarce resources on the most critical problems that affect the subscribers, hence the revenue. Proactive management, enabling the service provider to detect and resolve quality of service degradation before it impacts the end user. Finally, some solution to improve the operational efficiency and rationalization IPR, automation of business processes to reduce the OPEX, avoid redundancy by consolidating and rationalizing of OSS that could reduce the OPEX up to 50%. MyCom had a successful record in executing complex migration and transformation projects of IT systems. As an example, we've migrated around 15 legacy systems at one of our Tier 1 customers. As you can see, MyCom Service Assurance can play a key enabling role in achieving this triple action challenge. Service assurance. So what does it mean in terms of service assurance imperatives? First, advanced features. Make sure that the right set of features are available, assuring real-time monitoring, alerting, advanced correlation, and filtering engine. As an example, in one click, being able to spot all the cells having remaining capacity below 5% based on their NES daily hour over the last 3 weeks. Future-proof, technology and vendor neutral are key requirements. The capability of the system to support and adapt in real time to network upgrade, introduce of new technologies such as LTE, for example, and or services in a smooth and transparent manner to the user. The swap use case discussed earlier, developed earlier by Sver and Torgeir, showed us how it is flexible and smooth in MyCom service assurance to achieve that. Thanks to NIMS Protima embedded abstraction layer, which makes our solution technology and vendor neutral, that enable to acquire, concentrate, and correlate disparate sources of data across vendors, version, and technology. Cross-domain correlation, we mentioned it earlier. Open integration framework provide a flexible framework allowing southbound and northbound smooth integration, thus shortening the time to market. Scalable architecture, because of the market trends where new services and technologies will be adopted, the necessity of real-time monitoring diversity and diversity of users. The service assurance must be ready to deal with the data, network, and users' growth and support the monitoring and reporting on enterprise, corporate, and devices. MyCom service assurance is dealing on daily basis with several billions of records per hour, several terabytes of historical data, mixing different levels of raw granularity and distributing the information on daily basis to few thousand of users. There is a clear trend today that where service providers are looking to replace their legacy in-house and network equipment vendor solution with next-generation service assurance, complying to the imperative we just discussed. In summary, MyCom is delivering an innovative best-in-class service assurance solution, helping our customers to maintain their leadership position and intend to continue through continuous investment in R&D, engaging leading service providers who are actively contributing to shaping ambitious roadmap and anticipate the major industry trends, continued effort to capture our expert engineering know-how in the form of prepackaged off-the-shelf solution. We are proud to contribute to the success of Telenor in their management of the SWAP project. In the context where the telecom markets evolve rapidly, where the subscribers are more and more dictating the content to be provided, and where the quality of service is becoming a vital asset for service providers to maintain their profitability, we at MyCom are committed to help Telenor and all our customers and partners to maintain their leadership edge position and make the most of their network, maximizing their customer experience and develop successful new businesses. At this time, I will pass it back to Eduardo.
Thank you very much, Paul. If your pop-up blockers are turned off, you should receive a survey that we'd love to have your input on. While you take a moment to complete the survey, we will start in with your questions. And I see here that we have quite some questions that we'll need to get to, so I'll start right away with a question for Torgeir. The first one here is kind of a combination of two. You mentioned that the swap is almost finished now. What will be the next steps, and when will you launch LTE? And also there is one here, how do you think that your new PM system will help you introduce LTE? Torgeir?
Yes. The swap, the radio network swap, is expected to finish end of October, early November, and we will immediately start the preparations for a software upgrade in the network. This is to make sure that the network has the most recent software. This software will also support the single RAN management and seamless interactions between the different radio technologies. When this is done, we will launch LTE first quarter 2012, and we will launch it in the 4 biggest cities in Norway: Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger. The second part of the question, as of now, the LTE interface and also the EPC, the Evolved Packet Core interfaces, are both already installed on the Protima installation in Norway. So we have already done the first reports. They are developed. We have full use of them in the LTE testing. And the big benefit here is that we now can see all three radio technologies in the same system, GSM, UMTS, and LTE. But also we have both the radio and the core parts of the network in the same system, making it possible for us to do end-to-end performance management. I think that will be the biggest benefit, having it all in the Protima system.
All right, thank you very much, Torgeir. Sverre, the next question here is for you. What happens if you can't reach an acceptance agreement between you and your vendor?
There will always be an agreement. But to get there, our vendor has to show us that they have done every possible action that they could on the cluster quality. They have to prove that they have done all the optimized thing, which they can. Then, of course, Telenor has to look into the cluster quality before the swap to see if the benchmarking week had a special good or exceptional quality. And after some discussion, we have always found a plausible reason for the difference. So we have actually not had any situation so far that we haven't reached an agreement for accepting the clusters.
All right, our next question is for Paul. Paul, what is your position on standard interfaces for integration?
Wow. Today, none of the OSSJ quality of service nor the 3GPP interfaces API have been implemented for very large volume of data exchange between element manager and network performance management system. MSOC is very specific to the fixed world, so it has never really been requested to us. Therefore, we at MyCom are expecting a strong support from the harmonized TIP, the TIP PM interface, and therefore focuses on supporting the harmonized interface while participating in the TMS interface program.
Thank you very much. Next question here. The pace you are holding with 50 sites per day is quite impressive. How many people are involved in this swap? Torgeir, this might be a better question for you.
Yes. I think all in all, around 500 people are directly involved in the radio network swap. Not necessarily full-time, but keep in mind that many of these are subcontractors. So the figure 500 is includes everybody from the program manager down to the entrepreneurs who are transporting the cabinets to the sites.
All right, next question is for Sverre. What kind of information did you give to your customers prior to the swap?
First of all, there was a major interest in the media for the swap. So there were always some kind of articles in a local newspaper telling about what Telenor was doing. Our major business customers were contacted by their key account manager in Telenor, telling them about what they should experience during the swap. And finally, all the customers in a cluster got an SMS before we actually did the swap, where we informed them about what was going to take place. So I guess that was how we made the information to the customers.
Okay, next question here is for Paul. Do you have a workflow engine or business process orchestration engine?
NIMS Protima today embeds a decision support system that allow us capturing the decision tree when it comes to performance information analysis. Analysis workflow can be captured with the DSS scenario. We have a library of ready-to-use or off-the-shelf today scenarios, such as for broadband capacity optimization.
All right, thank you very much. Next question here. Next question here is for Torgeir. To what extent does frequency assignment and planning impact the transition?
As Sverre mentioned, we have these freeze periods prior to the swap. The first one was the hardware freeze. That means that we are not allowed to change any of the physical hardware on the site. Of course, if we have a faulty TRX, we can swap it to a new functioning one, but we're not allowed to change the configuration, add capacity, or change the cabling on the site. The second freeze is the software freeze, meaning that we are not allowed to change the parameter settings or the software configuration of the site. So the actual swap is a like-by-like swap, meaning that we are reusing the same frequencies that we did before the swap. So we have tried to get rid of all the possible mistakes that we can do in the swap by reducing the amount of changes. So it should be just the hardware swap from one vendor to another. And then after the stability period, we are allowed to do hardware and software changes.
All right, and Sverre, next question. What was the main differentiator compared to other vendors that you selected MyCom?
I guess it was the cost, the customer off the shelf, not the cost of the system. We didn't have time for any new development, so we needed a system which we were able to start using almost immediately. And since they had proven to be that they had delivered interfaces both to Huawei and to Cisco, and also were able to deliver the KPI library for those vendors, that was also a main differentiator. And of course, they had very good references from other operators. So I guess that was why we chose them.
Next question. What is the legacy PM platform that you replaced? And what do you mean by migration frameworks?
Well, the legacy PM system was a Nokia flat solution, and we have invested today in a framework that enable us to automate the migration of systems. And this framework is available for any system and can be repeated automatically for other projects.
Righty, thank you. The next question is for Sverre. Do you feel NIMS and Protima has been necessary for your launch of LTE network?
Well, we haven't launched the LTE network yet, so I'm not sure if I'm able to answer that question. But in the preparation for the launch, it is very useful. We will start with some trials and being able to monitor the performance from the early stage, both for drive testing and also for customer experience. We think that would be very useful. So I would guess that is the main drivers for us now.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Torgeir. How did you achieve logical parameters similar between old and new networks? Was it engineers' manual work or some automated tool?
This is absolutely engineers' manual work. Of course, we had a lot of help from Huawei, but keep in mind here that we had to map both NSN Ericsson and Huawei parameter settings to try to give the customers the same look and feel before and after the swap. But it's been an engineer's manual work together with Huawei.
Righty, thank you. We have enough time for one more question since we are at the top of the hour. So final question here is for Sverre. What is your experience on vendor-supplied performance management solutions versus independents like MyCom?
Well, that was a tough one. There is always pros and cons if we were going for a vendor solution or for a solution from another supplier. What we have seen is that when we choose MyCom, for example, we saw that going for a vendor which has this as their main product, that is very important. But of course, there are also some disadvantages that for example, Huawei will make any changes in their OSS system, and that is very crucial that MyCom then has a good cooperation with Huawei and Cisco to be able to catch up with those changes that we see in the OSS.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. And with that, that concludes our Q&A section for today. We have run out of time, but we would like to take a moment to thank you, Torgeir, Sverre, and Paul for sharing that knowledge and information with us. And again, our thanks to MyCom for sponsoring today's event and Telenor's participation and help with the answering of the Q&As. And thank you, audience, for your participation and interest. We look forward to seeing you at future TM Forum webinar series events. That concludes today's program. Thank you all for coming.